Hello,
Allow me.
everyone.
Hello. How you doing, bro? How you doing, bro?
What's going on? Welcome back to Two Grown Men.
Welcome back, everyone. Welcome
Hello,
back.
everyone. Ẹ káàbọ̀ sórí ètò wa o, ètò wa, ètò yín, ètò Two Grown Men lórí ẹ̀yà YouTube.
Wherever you're joining us from, we thank you. Thank you
very much for watching us. Thank you always for your support. Thank you we don't take it for granted. Thank you for the likes, for the comments.
Never.
Thank you for the shares. Thank you very much for the views.
Absolutely.
So, and as we always say, we'd like you to join us on the show. If you have any comments for us, if you have anything to share with us, send us an email at twogrownmen@gmail.com. We're on Twitter X as twogrownmen. Let's get into Yemi. What's going on? I like your backdrop. Yeah. I like your backdrop.
Thank you very much.
Why are you troublesome?
No, I just want to be in the mood of today's episode or what we're talking about today. So what are we talking about today? Allow me. What are we talking about?
I think it's been in the news a lot lately. USAID, USAID, whatever you want to call it. And the accusations that they have been funding terrorism, specifically Boko Haram in Nigeria.
Yes, that's what we're concerned about.
Go.
So was it last week? So U.S. Congressman Scott Perry, he was one that made some background allegations.
Serious allegations, man. Shaking the trees.
Telling you that USAID funds had been misappropriated and used to support Boko Haram operations.
The Taliban is classified, and if you don't know, the Taliban's in charge of Afghanistan. They're classified as a specially designated global terrorist organization by OFAC. So post-2021, so this is last year, 2024, we spent $697 million of the taxpayers' dollars in Afghanistan, including $534,719,000 in change from USAID in Afghanistan. We're just going to keep on spending because somehow we think it's going to get better. And if you're wondering who's in charge of Afghanistan getting the money, and that money I just mentioned, the $697 million is on top of, and is in addition to the weekly to every 10-day shipments in cash of $40 to $80 million. Afghanistan is ruled by folks named Sarayuddin Haqqani. The Haqqani network mean anything to anybody in the room? How about Abdullah bin Laden? Who gets some of that money? Does that name ring a bell to anybody in the room? Because your money, $697 million annually, plus the shipments of cash funds madrasas, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Boko Haram, ISIS Khorasan, terrorist training camps. That's what it's funding.
What? He cited declassified intelligence reports, which indicated that foreign aid money was funneled through NGOs with alleged ties to terrorist networks. Now, these revelations by Scott Perry now triggered a formal U.S. congressional investigation into past aid allocations to Nigeria. Lawmakers and security experts, they are now examining whether oversight failures within USAID allowed funds to be redirected to insurgents, potentially sustaining their operations. Nigerian government has responded with a mixed reaction. Some officials have called for transparency. Others have dismissed the claims as an attempt to undermine US-Nigeria relations. Laomi, what are your thoughts?
From the time when Trump came into power.
Yes.
Just like a month ago. Just like a month ago.
Has that guy done 6 months?
He has not spent 100 days yet.
More. From deportation to federal
Maps everywhere.
contractors, Kilo Day,
Everywhere.
Elon Musk, they do
Everywhere.
his own. Elon Musk, they
Man,
do. Everybody's just doing their own in
the
America.
twin
Like,
horsemen.
wow.
The twin horsemen. Bass boss. From the left, from the right, everyone give it a dazzle. There's dazzle,
Wow.
everything. Oh, expect you.
So back to Trump.
Yeah, back to Trump.
Hmm.
So I remember hearing that he when it was it 2 weeks ago that they said, or 3 weeks ago that they said they were going to stop funding USAID.
Yes.
And I was like,
yes.
So I watched a documentary the other day where, or somebody was saying that when you hear USAID or when you see USAID, the first thing that comes to your mind is aid. But actually, it's the United States Agency for International Development. It's not aid necessarily. Okay. And disclaimer, I have a couple of friends who work for USAID, either directly or indirectly.
Got you.
And so these things affect people in different ways. And and then all that uncertainty, then I heard they were funding Boko Haram. Okay. No, it's small. I feel like it went from like here to there.
Absolutely not.
Like that.
Absolutely
like
not.
That. Suddenly it's like you guys were funding Boko Haram. And I have friends who work on USAID projects in the power industry, in the medical industry. So for me, I sort of have a bigger picture of what USAID does. But that they were funding terrorism, Boko Haram.
But let me just interject very, very subtly into this. Do you remember that in 2017, there were leaked reports that some US aid? Okay, so let me take it. Let me take it back to the beginning, right? So let me take it back to the beginning. So Boko Haram, the terrorist group, Nigerian terrorist group, emerged in 2009, right? Now that led to U.S. military and intelligence support for Nigeria because they couldn't afford for terrorism to thrive in Nigeria because it will impact them somewhat, and obviously they wanted to help. Between 2010 and 2020, the U.S. provided over $1.5 billion, much of it for security and counterterrorism efforts. So things like the Trans-Sahara Counterterrorism Partnership, TSCTP, which boosted intelligence sharing and military training. But despite this big money that I just mentioned, which is very, very big money, the Boko Haram continued to haram. They continue to grow. You understand? It continued to grow. So like, what is going on? How effective is this aid? Is it being sidelined? Is there corruption? Okay. The US then increased their aid for humanitarian relief due to Boko Haram's attacks and displacement crisis. US aid now worked with NGOs to distribute funds and resources to displaced communities. Now, back to what I was saying earlier. In 2017, leaked reports suggested some US aid was diverted to Boko Haram through compromised NGOs. The Nigerian government at the time dismissed the claims as false allegations. Look at where we are in 2025. Are you with me? 8 years after. It takes a US senator to come out, a US congressman, my apologies, to come out and say, these things that you people said is alleging that USAID funds were misused to indirectly support Boko Haram. And he's based it on declassified intelligence reports. So viewers, there are always classified reports and declassified reports. This year, I think Trump has said, just to segue a little bit, he said this year, I think the Kennedy assassination,
JFK,
MLK,
RFK, and MLK assassinations, yeah.
They're going to come out this year because they become declassified. So that is CIA intelligence. They're saying this is exactly what happened, rather than people doing movies or people coming out and saying, we think. So for this guy to say this thing, it carries weight, is what I'm saying. It carries a lot of weight.
It does do. It does do. And I mean, do you think it's far-fetched what he's saying?
It's not far-fetched though. It's not far-fetched. It's not far-fetched at all. Because like I said, earlier they had been, because you say you are increasing aid and funding, but then the penetration of the terrorists keep on getting worse by the day. So something isn't adding up. Is it that somebody is siphoning the money, or somebody is not doing what they said they would do? Something isn't adding up.
Or somebody's funding both sides.
That's another angle.
But then, don't forget that there was this suggestion at the time, and GJ has said it, that at some point, the Obama administration refused to sell arms and ammunition to the Nigerian government to fight Boko Haram.
Absolutely.
He did say that.
Absolutely.
And then, do you remember this morning, Professor Bolaji Akinyemi was it TVC or Arise this morning?
Arise.
Talk about this issue.
Tinubu and others to fund groups causing mayhem in Nigeria. What's your take on that, sir?
Well, thank you very much for having me on your program again. I listened to you earlier on this morning, and you say you want facts because really you are not buying into this narrative. 2 plus 2 at times has to be equal to 4. So even if I can't give you 4, but I can give you 2 plus 2, we will then have to come to the conclusion that I'm giving you 4. I served on that committee, and villagers kept telling us that in the middle of the night, helicopters piloted by white people kept landing and offloading guns, goods, and all kinds of and money to these people. Now, villagers they don't even know who these white people are, and they have no reason to lie to us. Now, we made a mistake. When I said some of us on the Boko Haram committee made a mistake. We thought it was the French that were doing this. Now we have an American congressman said, no, it was the Americans who were doing this. And when you then add that to the Obama administration refusing to sell weapons to us, to Nigeria, on the grounds that we had human rights violations in the way we were dealing with Boko Haram, not in the way we were dealing with ordinary Nigerians where there were no security issues.
That was powerful. That was powerful.
You heard it there from the eminent Professor Bolaji Akinyemi.
That was very powerful. And
profound.
And it was direct. There was no ambiguity about what he was saying. You have suddenly a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
The US government refusing to sell you arms, which they've tried to justify. And the suggestion that, on the other hand, another agency of the US government was providing arms and material support to Boko Haram.
At the same time.
At the same time. Talk about hedging your bets. Do you know?
It's terrible.
We all sort of know that there is no insurgency anywhere in the world that occurs without, or let me put it this way, it's very rare to find an insurgency that doesn't have external support. It's very rare. They have to get their support from somewhere. And they said an army marches on its belly, which means food, right? But the logistics of getting an army moving are huge. Vehicles, maintenance of those vehicles, which include things like spare parts, tires, petrol. Do you understand what I'm saying? The capacity to, then the technicians to deal with breakdowns, then there the equipment, how you move your equipment, your light and heavy equipment from one theater to the other. You know, it's a lot of staging involved. There's a lot of money involved in all these things, and then you have to pay your soldiers, right? Don't get it twisted. You have to pay your mercenaries. You have to pay your soldiers. So I mean, it's running into the millions of dollars, and these guys have been out here for how long? Since Obasanjo's days?
Yes, sir. Since 1999. That's when Obasanjo gained power.
I think it was in his second term or something that the Boko Haram thing sort of showed its head.
2009, yeah, it was when he started to. No, I think Yar'Adua was in power then, if I remember, and then Jonathan.
No, but I think the head
beginning
of Boko Haram was the beginning, the very beginning. I think it was under OBJ's government. Towards the end, I think.
I remember the carrot and
where the leader was
argument.
killed. Where
Yeah,
the leader was killed,
I
think.
remember.
And that was the very beginning. But But you said something very important right now, something very instructive. I asked you, I said, do you doubt the authenticity of these claims? And you said no, you don't doubt it. You didn't say it was impossible. Because let's face it, the US does
I don't have any confidence. I don't have any confidence that the news is false. I have zero confidence
because the US does meddle in the affairs of other countries.
Yep.
And it's not just the US. You heard Professor Akinyemi say they thought it was France. Because all around north of Nigeria are Francophone countries, right?
Nigeria.
So there's Nigeria, there's Chad, just all around our borders, right? We're surrounded by Francophone countries.
Cameroon.
Whether it's Cameroon, whether it's Benin Republic, whether it's Chad, they're all Francophone countries, right? So it's logical to conclude that it's the French.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And do you know something? It is actually also not impossible that the French were also involved, or that the French were carrying out their own independent operation, separate from the Americans carrying out their own. I mean, remember the Biafran War? Biafran War. There were people supplied arms to the Biafran government, right? The Western countries supplying arms and material to Biafra.
Yep.
And there were countries on the other side supplying arms to the Nigerian government. Are you willing to bet that there were probably some countries playing both sides?
In terms of aid and
and material.
Crazy.
Look, what is aid? We've heard this story so many times of NGOs or the alphabet soup agencies using NGOs as fronts for something or the other. Using aid groups. And it's all over the world, whether it's in anywhere, name it. Whether it's in Afghanistan, in Pakistan,
everywhere.
Now we're hearing about Nigeria. But all over the world, the civilized countries.
It's no news.
Our colonial masters are doing things. They're interfering in politics of different countries. And they're using supposedly benign NGOs as fronts for various operations. It's not news now.
Yeah.
And USAID is probably one of the biggest NGOs in the world, right? Actually, no, the USAID is a government agency, so it's not an NGO; it's a governmental agency.
No, it's a government agency.
Government agency, yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
So Laomi, have you heard of the Leahy? Have you heard of the Leahy law?
What's the Leahy law?
Good. So the Leahy law is a human rights policy which prevented American military assistance to units accused of human rights abuses. So this law under Obama blocked certain Nigerian military units from receiving US aid at a time where Boko Haram was expanding. That's what Professor Bolaji Akinyemi was saying in the video that we just watched. Yes.
And that's
so Nigerian army officials, remember one time that they were saying that they were trying their best. Remember when the military said they were trying? They were not lying. So this weakened the military's ability to fight terrorism and forced them to seek alternative military partnerships. Enter the fray Russia and China. Because when America under Obama refused to sell us the weapons, Nigerian government had to go to Russia and China to buy weapons, which is what happened.
Yeah.
Right. I think this also affected the Chibok girl situation in 2014. Obama's reluctance to provide direct military support and this enforcement of this Leahy law that I mentioned, it hurts our counter-terrorism efforts. Critics also argued that the Obama administration failed to prevent the misuse of humanitarian aid, which led to possible unintentional funding of insurgents. Don't forget this current, and why we have to mention the Obama administration is that this current U.S. congressional statement and ongoing investigation into aid misuse includes Obama era funding allocations. So that is why Obama is being mentioned, because if evidence confirms that US aid indirectly supported Boko Haram, it would further damage Obama's legacy on African security policies, which is already poor. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Do you understand?
That's a very good point. Yes. Yeah, given the Gaddafi situation and all.
Precisely the Gaddafi situation. You know, you're kind of like having to tie everything together. What's going on, brother?
You're an African now. Why would you, brother
Barak? Yes, now you're one of us now, but you're not acting like one of us.
One of us now.
Yeah. In a way.
Yeah.
So what comes next? What comes next in this? What comes next?
Nothing. Nothing.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Are you going to go and beat America?
What comes next, you? Is it going to dampen? Is it going to lead to
you got to report to principal or what? You got to report to principal or what?
You know these kind of things now.
What's good to happen?
Going to be the usual. We're going to do an investigation. We're going to change the NGOs that we're using. We're going to make sure this doesn't repeat itself again. We're going to this. We're going to that. We're going to this.
Yeah, they'll launch an investigation, and all of you forget about it in a couple of years.
Yeah.
Man.
So very, very interesting news. Very, very, very interesting news. And for me, just sad. It's sad because it also, we kept on, having so much of a go against our military, and why are these people not solving this Boko Haram issue quickly? What is the problem? So with this, and some of us have always suspected that there's any huge issue that happens in Africa that borders around insecurity. I'm not talking about the local factions between cities. I'm saying when it's large scale. Because who is funding Boko Haram? Where are these guys? These are young guys that have sophisticated weapons. Some of the weapons that these guys have, the Nigerian army at that point didn't have them.
Didn't have some of them, yeah.
Yeah. So where were they? How were they funding? They were eating. They were having children. They were living their
living,
lives. They were living. Yeah.
and they
It was a
run the government.
it
They had their lines. They run the government.
was a job. It was a job. It was a lifestyle. And this happened for years. Happened for years. Yeah.
We're talking 2 decades now. 2 decades. Incredible, Yemi.
Absolutely incredible. Absolutely. So we'll just keep on watching this one. I think this administration, the Trump administration,
what would the US
continue to reveal more?
What do you think the US stood to gain from destabilizing Nigeria?
That's an excellent question.
What? Like, do you really want to risk 200 million refugees? What do you stand to gain? I guess that's something to contemplate another day, right?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. Guys, please get involved.
Let's
tell us what you think. Yes, let us pose that question to our viewers. Viewers, what have we gained, or what has the US gained from Nigeria's instability? Do you think,
mining resources?
Yeah.
Because behind
it has to be
the
something
front line, behind the front lines in the areas that Boko Haram control and all these bandits control are valuable resources, mines, and so illegal mining and so on is going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
There will be a reason for for any government at all, if they had direct access to the insurgents, to buy those raw materials cheaply, those minerals and whatever it is, the natural resources cheaply. But you fund the insurgents, and they in exchange for it would make sense.
You now use
and it would not be the first time
natural resources to pay.
It would not be the first time.
For me, what comes to mind is the clue is in what we spoke about for the last 10-15 minutes. Weapons. Who's going to buy the weapons? Nobody buys weapons when it's safe, or you buy less weapons when it's safe, meaning the weapon sales and the defense contracts, when there's insurgency in the land, it justifies an increased arms deal and defense partnerships. So the government has to now say, the money we spent on defense last year was too small, so we can make a push for a bill to increase the defense budget as part of your national budget in your country. And the president will have to accede to that, because it's clear that, this thing, people are dying, they're doing all sorts of stuff. So that's another advantage I can see. But it's just the way people profit off tears, pain. It's just absolutely crazy.
War is a massive economy. Doesn't the US government spend something like $700 billion a year on its military?
Yep. Something like that, possibly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's about $700 billion a year. That's a lot of money.
Yeah. So look at Boeing. Boeing makes so much money. Lockheed Martin makes so much money. Like I mentioned just now, countries are pouring massive budgets into war efforts, which increases defense spending. Like you said, the US military budget alone is over. Did you say 700 billion?
Yeah, defense budget.
Yeah.
So
something like
last
that.
week, last week, European stock markets surged into early this week.
Why?
Defense. And it was mostly defense stocks that surged. The European, the German bourse, the London Stock Exchange.
Yeah.
Even new. I think the German index hit an all-time high, and
last week,
mostly defense. Yes, and it was mostly defense. either
Interesting.
last week or early this week, maybe Monday, President's Day,
Mm.
and it was mostly defense stocks. And if you go and check your defense stocks now,
You see that the thing is moving.
oh yeah, I don't want to give stock tips on air before somebody sues me.
Guys,
for-
this is not financial advice, by the way. Not
It's not
financial advice.
advice.
No.
At
Lama, I think we
J1
should
stock
wrap.
market,
I think we should wrap
we
it
have
up.
paid our dues in the stock market.
I think we should wrap it up
paid
for
our
this
dues.
one.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Everyone, thank you very much for watching us. If you have any comments on this issue, please let us know. It'd be nice to hear from you. If you want to be a part of this show, please send us an email or just send us leave it in the comments. Say, I want to be part of the show and just be part of us. We're 2grownmen@gmail.com, 2grownmen on Instagram, 2grownmen on Twitter X. Yemi, close this for us, please.
Yes. Thank you again for staying with us till the end. And we'll see you in the next one.
Esho, Odaro.
Odaro.
God bless you all.